I can't seem to help. It's like you cast a spell. I'll keep loving you. You don't love me too. But I won't cry. I'll just sing a lullaby. You moved on already. I know I gotta stay strong. You said that you love me forever, but I guess that's gone. And I can't seem to hide all this pain that I feel inside. But that's okay, I'll just sing a lullaby. Listen, I can't seem to help. No, oh, it's like you cast a spell. Can't believe we're through. You win and you lose. But I won't cry, I'll just sing a lullaby. Listen. You moved on already, and I know I gotta stay strong. You said that you love me forever, but I guess that's gone. And I can't seem to hide all this pain that I feel inside. But that's okay, I'll sing a lullaby. Good day, good afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. All right. Here we are. This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right, where we talk about everything that is interesting to you and only you. Brought to you by... No, I'm just joking. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's MCM and this is You're Probably Right podcast. I'm just here and I want to talk about, well, maybe a weird title, but Echoes of Absence. Navigating the solitude. I hate that word navigating, but I've used it so many times. Navigating the solitude post-separation. So join me, your host, MCM, of You're Probably Right podcast, for a profound exploration of life's solitary journey after separation. What do I mean by that? Listen up and you'll understand what I mean in a second. Let's get to it. But you think some special thing was going to happen? You can hear some Ain't got no news for you, y'all. It is what it is. All right. Just joking with you. All right. So first question. Can you describe the moment you realized that living alone was your new reality? Well, let's see. Have I accepted my new reality is the question. It sure feels that way. It's been a while now, I've been alone and nothing seems to be changing anything. I've tried to put myself out there as far as getting things done that I want to get done because, oddly enough, when you're in a relationship, especially with the wrong person or with the person who really doesn't care about what you want, you find yourself molding into what you think they want, which that you generally is never what they want. You think molding yourself into an individual that is the opposite of you because she gives you so much grief for who you are, where in reality, the individual probably that she sees would be the individual that you would be if you weren't so worried that you're going to be called out on everything you do, or going the total opposite and totally doing the stuff that you think she doesn't want you to do for spite almost. So that's one thing. So, but for me, I think it was on my knees. Now, remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. This is not a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast that is run by a Christian. So a lot of the viewpoints, most of the viewpoints will be scriptural, or it will be along the lines of what I would believe a Christian's outlook should be. In other words, the Lord's way. Otherwise, it might be just me speaking out of my head, like in this situation. But one day I was praying, I believe, and I tend to leave the side that I spend most of my time on. I go and I pray, usually actually at the place where I work out, which it needs to be revamped or whatever it is. But I was praying and I was like, man, what if it's just going to be this way? I pray and I can't really give it to God because it's God's. He is sovereign. The Bible says, like, the prayer that we always recite is, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So unless we think that everything is gone in disarray up in heaven, I can guarantee you the God that created heaven, the earth, the God that created you and me, is going to have his will done one way or the other. Now, the prayer of a righteous man availeth much, also the Bible says. So I believe that the Lord will answer prayers if we put them up, although we're not to be begging and pleading for ourselves, but we should be interceding for others. So anyhow, basically, I believe that it could be a possibility where I've worn out my welcome as far as male, female, intimate marriage relationship. I think I might have been given my shot and it might be over. So that's where I am right now. So remember, any answer that I'm giving you is just kind of along that lines because that's my feeling at the moment. It just, I don't know, very personable person. I thought I can be very funny when I want to, even if it has to be not really at somebody else's expense, but I don't know how to put that kind of comedy, but whatever. So that's my answer. So it seems like it's gonna be me and me alone, and that outlook doesn't sound too wonderful to me. So I have a whole other perspective on that whole situation, but I'm not going to get into it because that wasn't really a question. All right, number 2. How do you differentiate between the solitude that is imposed and the solitude that is chosen? Well, the only imposed, I would say, solitude I have at the moment is I know that my ex doesn't want anything to do with me, and there's nothing I can do about it. I can't go back in a fit of rage or like, a spoiled brat banging down the door saying I'm coming in and here's Johnny smashing through the door or whatever it is. I just have to accept that, I'm going to be alone. That's where I am. While also thinking of other things that keep your perspective in check. And the way I believe that you can keep your perspective in check is if you think of someone else who is doing a lot worse than you are. Now, depending on how successful you are, or depending on maybe how rich you are, or depending on your trappings or belongings or what you own or whatever it is, you might look at this totally different. The person you might pick to say that they're doing a lot worse than you, we might be surprised. But in my case, I would be like, at least I have 2 arms that work. at least I can get down on my knees because I have knees to get down on. I can get down on my knees in a house because that is the lot that I have been given in life, and it could be a lot worse. I could be trying to pray lying in a cardboard box made for a refrigerator downtown Toronto, or maybe lying across one of the subway grates because it blows warm, smelly air that will keep me warm in the cold months as it is right now. Life could be so much worse. And when you look at how much worse it could possibly be, then for you to figure out, you're imposed, or the solitude that you impose on yourself, or just the solitude that has been, your allotment, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, as far as solitude is doing things that I like to do, I guess, would be the solitude that I choose. But, that could be ever expanding, I would say. The only reason why it is kind of set that way is because I don't know what the future holds. And that's another thing, is like, how long can you keep yourself handcuffed to an idea? Whereas, that thing that you're handcuffing yourself to may not be you. So therefore, it's like you're just underneath another regime. And I can tell you, inevitably, in a lot of people's minds, when they're just separating, or when they're separate and they just assume that maybe the other person is living their life, but still that person doesn't feel as free. It's like you're living under a regime that you just left. And even though it doesn't claim you, you're still concerned with what that regime cares about and what they want to see from you, which is kind of twisted and kind of backwards. All right. In what way has the distance from your former partners served as both a salve and a sorrow? Well, it lets you really, look at the situation from the outside in, almost, even though you're not seeing yourself and maybe the behaviors that you had while you were in the situation, but you look and you see the results in your life, in your mind, your thinking, the people around you, maybe the person that's left the relationship or whatever it is. When you're away from it for a while, it's like out of sight, out of mind. But also when it starts to drip away outside of you, then it's kind of like you see it again for the first time, if that makes any sense to some people. Like, I literally think that if you write something today and you're so enamored by what you're writing, and you're weaving your being and your thoughts into this writing, and it tends to hold you, especially if you go in with your emotions. But if you give it a couple days or a day or whatever longs for it to kind of blow out of your mind, and then you look at it with a fresh gaze, then you might look at your former situation in not such a favorable or desirable light, and therefore you can see things as they are. You can slowly go back to you the way you were, and who knows, maybe that's the exact moment where the individual that's left you in sorrow would come back and try to reinvent themselves in your relationship, in your life. And that's generally when you've either gone too long away, or it was gone so long that you decided to find something else, and that's when your life gets complicated. And that happens especially if you rush things too fast, as far as trying to rebound from a horrible situation. 4. Do you think the emotional toll of a breakup is compared to the grief losing a loved one in death? Why or why not? Well, I would say for sure, because, if you're really, really, really planning on being somebody for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter if it's a parent for whatever reason or a sibling, but when you realize that that's not the case, and they're not in your life at all, which is totally foreign to your life and how you feel, and if you've experienced death of those who really, really matter to you, then I think you can see that the two situations have some similarities, although one is not as final. And, depending on how warped your mind is, you might still think, even long after maybe they've even moved on, that there's always a chance while you're living and breathing that you could be back together with them. And that's definitely the saddest part of breakup and people who are like lost in a time, like a time warp. Just, if it was now like sitting in 1997 and they just can't move on, they think that things might change at some point. And I would say those are some of the saddest people that I've personally met, where they basically stop living or put their life on hold for something that is as fictitious as the movie Superman. Let me do one more question. Let's get this a short one here, guys. How have your perspectives on love and attachment evolved since the separation? Well, I could say for me, it's been like, I just have to say, it is what it is. I came to reality is that I didn't choose. Maybe for my behavior I chose, but ultimately, even if my behavior wasn't right according to the other individual, then I know that I would just think that I could try to do better. And when you realize that you don't have a choice to do better, when you realize that you're just literally rejected, and some say it's worse when you get rejected by someone, not for someone else, but the person would rather just have nothing than you. It's a pretty low part of life to live under. And so you get used to the idea of just being there, being by yourself. You try to fix yourself up sometimes to say, get a couple looks here and there. Maybe you don't feel so crappy about yourself because after all, you've been dumped for nothing. And if you let that soak in a little bit, and it's ever happened to you, you'll know exactly what I mean. Like, some women will say, they're so much happier when a guy dumps them, but they go on to a much prettier, outgoing individual. It kind of brings up their stock. Although I doubt the next person is going to be comparing you to the individual that your spouse is with now, or whatever it is. But it just, maybe it does something within individuals themselves. But yeah. So that's what it is. And when you love someone, you get attached. There's nothing else I can really say about that. It's just a reality when your emotions are wrapped up, not the act of doing love, because I think you do love. I don't think it's you love, you feel love. But you might feel desire, and you might feel to be wanted by another individual, accepted, and all the stuff that comes with that. But attachment is breeded by love, I think, or infatuation. But that true desire, that true care, that true attachment, definitely, I think, is the strongest when there is love behind it. All right, y'all, it was a short one today. I just want to do this one quick. I almost got out of here in 15 minutes, and that's where we're hitting it. We're going to leave it right there right now. And I mean, who knows, depending on how popular this is, maybe I'll go back in it and, finish the 10 other questions I had. Anyhow, peace out, y'all. We done here. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.